Hi, I'm Liam. To be honest, I don't just love money, I love the freedom it buys. I'm here to help you stop trading your life for a paycheck and start building a foundation that actually lasts. Look, I want you to imagine something for a second. It's Saturday morning, February 2026. You're sitting at your kitchen table, a lukewarm coffee in your hand, and you're staring at a Zillow notification on your phone. It's a modest three-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, no marble countertops or infinity pools, just a starter home. Then you see the price. Then you look at the current mortgage rates, which are stubbornly hanging around 6.1%. You pull out a calculator, run the numbers, and you feel that familiar sinking pit in your stomach. Even with a good salary, the monthly payment is more than half your take-home pay. You realize that to actually afford this house without living on ramen noodles for the next 30 years, you'd need to earn an extra $25,000 a year starting tomorrow. That's the exact moment the homeowner dream starts to feel like a high-stakes scam. Here's the thing. You aren't crazy, and you aren't failing. You're just trying to play a game where the rules were rewritten while you were sleeping. We've been told for decades that buying a home is the ultimate finish line. It's the safe bet, right? But in 2026, the math has turned brutal. We are currently living through what economists are calling the Great Housing Reset. But for most of us, it feels more like a great housing extinction. Right now, the median home price in the U.S. is sitting at roughly 5 times the median household income. To put that in perspective, back in the 90s, that ratio was 3.2. We've essentially drifted into a reality where the historical average is a fairy tale. In fact, a shocking 65% of households literally cannot afford a medium-priced new home right now. If the price of that house goes up by just $1,000, the price of a decent laptop, another 150,000 families are instantly priced out. It's that fragile. Look, I get the frustration. You've done everything right. You saved, you cut back, you watch the rates like a hawk. But the goalposts aren't just moving. They're sprinting away from you. We're seeing a bizarre inversion where, for the first time in recent history, new builds are actually selling for less than existing homes in some markets. Why? Because individual sellers are still emotionally attached to the quote-unquote peak prices of 2022, while big developers are doing the quote-unquote brutal math and slashing prices just to move inventory. It's like a car dealership trying to charge you more for a used 2018 Camry than a brand new 2026 model. It makes zero sense, yet here we are. Think of the housing market right now like a game of musical chairs played in a dark room. During the pandemic, the music was loud, interest rates were at 3%, and everyone was dancing. Then, the Fed turned off the lights and stopped the music. Most people, about 80% of current homeowners, are glued to their chairs because their mortgage rate is under 6%. They aren't moving. They're locked in. And that leaves you and millions of others wandering around in the dark trying to find a seat that doesn't exist. This lock-in effect has essentially paralyzed the market. It's created a bottleneck where supply is artificially low, keeping prices high even when demand is cooling. Now, I'm not here to just dump gloom and doom on your breakfast. There is a way through this, but it requires a total psychological shift. You have to stop looking at a home as a, quote, lifestyle trophy and start looking at it as a cold, hard commodity. Here is the actionable truth for 2026. The buy versus rent math has flipped in 32 of the 50 largest metro areas. In places like San Jose or Seattle, you might save over $1,500 a month by renting and investing the difference instead of lighting that money on fire through high-interest mortgage payments. We've been brainwashed to think renting is throwing money away, but in a 6% interest environment, paying a massive mortgage where 80% of your payment goes to the bank in interest for the first 10 years? That's also throwing money away. It's just doing it with a yard you have to mow. If you're determined to buy this year, you have to be the unemotional predator in this market. Stop looking at the dream homes and start looking at the math homes. Look for the new build price cuts. Builders are currently offering massive rate buydowns, sometimes paying to get your rate down to 4% or 5% just to close the deal. That is where the survival math actually works. Don't wait for a, quote, market crash that might never come because of the low inventory. Instead, hunt for the seller fatigue. We are entering a buyer's balance for the first time in a decade. Use it. Negotiate for repairs. Ask for closing costs. And for heaven's sake, Don't overextend your debt-to-income ratio just because a bank says you qualify.
The dream isn't dead, but the old version of it, the one where you just show up with a 20% down payment and live happily ever after, is on life support. Survival in 2026 is about agility.
It's about realizing that your net worth isn't defined by the deed to a house, but by your ability to keep your capital working for you.
If the math doesn't work, walk away. There is a strange power in being the person who refuses to overpay for a broken system. You are more than a mortgage application. Take a breath, put the calculator away for a second, and remember, the goal isn't just to own a roof, it's to own your life. Now, go look at your local data. Find the gap where builders are hurting, and make a move that actually makes sense for your bank account, not your ego. You've got this.